Hello everyone, welcome to OCP 11 exam course. Section Database Applications with JDBC. Topic Connect to and perform database SQL operations. Process query result using JDBC API. Please watch my video till the end. If you like my video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Data is information. Fact is a piece of a data. For example, first name. A database is an organized collection of data. In real world, a file cabinet is a type of a database. It has file folders, each of which contain piece of paper. There are two types of databases, relational and NoSQL. Relational is organized into tables which consist of rows and columns. You can think of a table as a spreadsheet. A table has a primary key, which is a unique entry of a particular type in a column, and sometimes it is a combination of a column, and we call it as compound key. For example, a student identifier and a year might be a compound key. There are two main ways to access a relational database from Java. The first one is through Java Database Connectivity, JDBC. Access data as row and columns, and JDBC is the API covered for the exam, and we will go over it. Second way is through Java Persistent API, JPA. Access data through Java objects using the concept called object relational mapping. The idea is that you do not have to write as much code as you get your data in the Java objects, and then we call those objects for operations. So in the Spring, normally we use JPA, but for the exam course we are not going to the JPA. NoSQL. This is for store the data in the format other than tables, such as key values, document stores, and graph-based database. And this is also not in the scope of the exam. All right. You can see how to visualize the database. We have a database zoo. It has two tables, and table exhibits, table name, and table exhibits have three columns: ID, name, and num echoes. And ID is a primary key because this is unique. And the second table is table names. It also has three columns, and the first column is a primary key. So table 1 and table 2 are related to each other. Is a one-to-many relationship because the one has 1, 2, 3 entries in table names, and 2 has 2 entries, so it's a one-to-many relationship. And for our exam perspective, we would use Apache Derby to create a database. It is a small in-memory database, and the link is over here. So for Java 9 and higher, I will go over here and it says the mirror, goes to the mirror, and then scroll down. There must be a DB database, and go to the Derby, and the Derby is 15.2, and in 15.2 you need to download lib on Microsoft Windows. Okay, so once it downloads, you can put it into the path, and I already have put this file into my program files folder. I also have created one IntelliJ project named as JDBC 11, and in this project you need to put the lib file in the directory. So files, project structure, go to modules, and then add jar or directories. I have extracted Derby 10.15.2, the lib directory, into programs file Java JDK folder. I've made the DB and then I put it over here and then click OK. So now this jar file has included in the project, and this is the only one you need. Next, to create this table, I have also provided a link down below where you can copy the SetupDerby database class. I'm going to copy this one, I have copied the SetupDerby database file in my project, and now I am going to run this one. So it has given me 5. Next, you have seen that there is a folder created, and it has all the database information. Please do not touch this folder. To visualize this database, there is a tab, database. Click the database, then the plus sign, then data source from a path. In the project folder, select the database, click OK, select the driver, and then click OK. So before clicking OK, do the test connection, and you can see over here. Okay, then apply and hit OK. All right, so this is our editor for SQL. If I double click, it will show the data inside the table. Again, the double click shows the data inside the table. We will also write the queries here and interact with the data. Let's see. Structured query language, SQL. This is a language to interact with records. So there are two types of SQL. Database definition language, which is creating table, alter table, drop table, create stored procedures, and database manipulation language. This is the one which we deal the data inside the table. So there are four types of statement for working with the data in the table, and they are referred as CRUD: create, read, update, delete. The SQL keywords do not match the acronym, so pay attention. For create, there is insert, add a new row to the table. Read is select, retrieves data from the table. Update, changes 0 or more rows in the table. Delete, removes 0 or more row from the table. SQL keywords are not case sensitive. We will use the uppercase letter, so if you like, you can use the lower as well. All right. In the CRUD operation, there are 4 keywords: insert, select, update, and delete. Okay. So insert statement, you want to say into, and exhibits is the name of a table, and then you write values. Okay. So we already know that we have 2 rows, and this is a primary, which is a unique, so you have to write something different. 3, and Asian elephant, and area is 7.5. Okay. You would like to run this one, execute. All right, it has executed. Go to exhibit, and you can see that row has added. Okay. Next is select. You want to see the select static from exhibits. So I'm going to write these keywords at the left hand side, so you know that what where is to give any kind of condition, where ID is 3. So I'm gonna do run query. I can select this one and run query, so it gives me result here. Okay. And as I know that this is column name, ID, name, and numbmakers. Okay. So I said I can say select name, numbmakers from exhibits where ID equals to 3. So it has given me only 2 column instead of 3. So if we mention the column name here, it gives only that column. Okay, so there are some functions also. We call them SQL functions. We get the information about the whole result without returning individual row. So there is a function called as count. So function or method star means count everything, and sum is also another function, add everything, num acres whatsoever in the num acres, and we're gonna from exhibits. All right, so it's gonna count number of the records and add all area. So let's run this one. So you can see that 3 and 16.2. So 3 means these are 3 rows, and if you can see that 7.5, 7.5 is 15, and 1.2 16.2. That's what is coming over here. Okay, so these are the function we are using. These are SQL functions. So we have seen insert, we have seen select, another one is update exhibits, and if you update something, say set num acre equals to num acre plus 0.5. So 0.5 area increase where name equals to Asian elephant. Okay, so it is 7.5. If we run this one, so it has gone to 8.0. Okay, next is we say delete. Delete is to delete the record, but be very careful whenever you use this delete. Now this is a condition where name equals to Asian elephant, select, run. Yes, it has deleted one row. How to check? Double click, record has gone. Okay, if I want to save all these queries, I'm going to make a file, new file, basic SQL.sql, and copy all SQL commands here, because in the console you can write, but for the saving you need to create a file. So now it is in the project. Okay, so whenever if you close the console, and you can still see these ones, and just click someone, this shows up, and then run a query in the console. So it starts giving you the options on the top. Okay, right. Now JDK provides java.sql package for database connectivity. It has a lot of interfaces and the classes. For exam, you need to know only these 4 interfaces: driver, connection, prepared statement, and result set. Callable statement was in previous exam, so it is out of the scope of 819. JDK provides the implementation for the driver class. However, database vendors provides the implementation of all the interfaces in the java.sql package. For this course, we will use the implementation of JDK provided driver interface and Derby provided connection, prepared statement, and result set interfaces. So let's see what these interfaces do. Driver establish a connection. Connection send command to the database. Prepared statement to run a SQL query. Callable statement is to run stored procedure. Result set reads result of a query. It comes in the form of an object and we iterate over. Okay. This is an example of a for driver. So for driver is a class which is an implementation of a driver interface. Okay, so this is just an example. So as I said, driver interface implementation is in the JDBC and the class is drivers manager. It establishes a connection to a database. How it established a connection? It has a method get connection. We pass a URL and it provides a connection object. URL is in the format of protocol, subprotocol, and subname. 3 of them are separated each other by a colon. And protocol, JDBC, subprotocol, the name of a vendor, MySQL, Postgres, Derby. Subname, it's database specific connection detail, localhost or IP, and the port, and with the database name. Okay. So let's make one class and see that how we can connect with the database. I'm going to stop this instance because I am going to interact with code. So at the time you can only run one instance. So make sure close the instance. So package name is connection and I am going to make a class test connect. I'm going to import java.sql and I am going to get the connection from drivers manager class. So the first is protocol JDBC, then vendor name is Derby, and then it says you can do localhost and then provide the port 1527 and then name of database. Okay, all right. So as I have said that this is optional. Okay, if you write or you do not write, it will be fine. I just put it over here and I am going to use like this. Okay, next what I would like to do, I would like to call toString method of this connection object and see what is inside. All right, so run this one. Yes, so you can see that the package org Apache Derby implementation JDBC, there is a class. This is a class name. After the @ sign, this is a hash code, and the database name is zoo. Okay, with other information. I am going to just copy this one and put it over here. All right, next, earlier before JDBC 4, you have to provide a class.for name and the name of a class. but with a new driver it is not required to use this method before getting a connection. So if you do it, there won't be any kind of issue. Let's see as example. So it is optional for name. So this is the name of a class, fully qualified name, and it throws the class not found exception. So run this one, see is there any compiler error or runtime error? No, nothing. And then what if I delete this one and see that, can I put anything? Will it work? No. So if you put the wrong class name, it won't work. Make sure that. All right. So automatically picking up of a class name when you do not provide this class.for name. Okay. Next, connection. Connection sends command to a database, and in the connection interface there is a method prepare statement which intakes SQL query and provide an instance of prepared statement. So the implementation of connection class provides an object of prepared statement. Okay, so let's see that. I am going to make one class, prepared statement, execute, import java.sql, and I am going to use drive resource. This time I'm going to use connection driver manager dot get connection, URL JDBC Derby Zoo and then I'm going to get an object of prepared statement by connection class object. Remember in the Derby there the class name is embedded connection, so don't have an object of embed connection. Okay, and here inside you will provide a SQL select static from names. That's what you do. Okay, next, statement. So we use statement object to execute a query. For the exam you need to know prepared statement only. Just for your knowledge, prepared statement is a sub interface of statement, and a lot of methods of statement you can use with the prepared statement object. All right, so let's see. In the statement there are execute methods: execute, execute query, execute update, and in the prepared statement also have execute method. But the difference between prepared statement and statement is that statement has a parameter with SQL, and we do not use these execute methods with prepare statement, otherwise it will give an exception. We always pass query to a method of connection class prepare statement. Okay, all right. Prepare statement extends from statement, and extensively in this course we use execute, execute query, execute update, all through SQL exception. Execute we can use with all operation, select, delete, insert, update. Execute query we can use only with select. It returns result set which contains the rows and the columns, and we can iterate over and get our result. Execute update we cannot use with the select, we can only use with delete, insert, and update, and it returns the number of rows added, changed, and removed. Okay, and on next one there is a summary which I have already explained, that execute we use with everyone, execute query only with select, update everyone but select. Okay, so this is an execute class, and what I'm going to do, declare one more variable, result set rs equals to ps dot execute query. Okay, so this one we can use with a select. All right, how do we extract the data from the result set object? I'll show you later. Let's go to execute update. Import java.sql star public static void main and throws SQL exception. Okay. I am going to create 3 string, insert SQL, and update SQL, and delete SQL. Insert into exhibits values 10 dir and 3. Okay, table exhibits have one integer, one varchar, and then again we have numeric values area. So next I'll do update exhibits, and how do you do, set name equals to nothing, where name equals to none. Okay, next is delete from exhibits where id equals to 10. Okay, next I will do a try resource block, and I am going to make a prepare statement object and get an object from a connection, embed connection class. I have shown you the embed connection class. It's coming from the jar file. All right, so this is all polymorphism. So int result equals to ps dot execute update. All right, and as out result. So this is an insert command. So if it runs satisfactorily, insert the one row and return the number of rows affected. Okay, so we did with insert. We're gonna do the same with the update, and we're gonna do with the same with delete. Okay, all right. So with the update, we do not have anything none. I have shown you it's gonna be 0, and delete, yeah, we have added 10 and we are going to delete the same one. Okay, and execute. So yes, 101. Okay, added, none updated, and deleted whatsoever we added. So this is execute update. So next to execute, I am going to change the class name from execute to execute query. I'm going to make a new class execute, and I'm going to import java.sql package, add exception to method signature. So we know that execute returns the boolean. It returns true for select SQL and false for insert, update, and delete. Okay, so I say if is result set, then try result set rs ps dot get result set. So get result set is in the statement class, and it returns the result set. Okay, ran a query and if it is not, then int result ps. So this method get update count, it is in the statement interface. So it actually returns the number of rows affected. Okay, so let's run this one. So it says run a query. Why? Because the select statement. If I put insert, update, delete, so it will run this one part. Okay, we have seen these two methods. And what is the meaning of batching? JDBC support batching. You can run multiple statements in fewer trips to the database, and often the database is located on a different machine than the Java code runs on. So saving the trip to the database saves a lot of our time, because network calls can be expensive. So what you do actually, each record you put in a batch, and add batch is in the prepared statement, and then once you have put everything in the batch, after a certain time you call execute batch. What it does, it insert a batch of a record at the same time, so instead of putting one at a time. This is a real world scenario, so I just would like to mention, but the example is not important, and this method is not in the exam. All right, okay, so let's see what happened if we put the wrong SQL in execute query or execute update. So for that, I would like to make a class wrong SQL and import java.sql, and then public static void main. I will make a variable string, write select static from names, and in try resource, and declare SQL exception with the main method. And we know that the select one we can use with the execute query. What would if I use this one with execute update? All right, let's run this one. So it is giving me an SQL exception that execute update cannot be called with a statement that returns a result set. Okay, so it's giving me a runtime exception. Now I would like to do the same vice versa. Okay, let's come it out, and I am going to put update exhibits set name equals to where name equals to none. It's the same query which we used earlier, and this time we use execute query and see that what would be the result. Okay, exception. So it says that I cannot be called with a statement that return a row count. Okay, next, bind variables. Bind variables, they are like a placeholder that lets you specify the actual values at runtime. And bind variables can be set in any order, and bind variables are counted starting with 1 rather than 0. Okay, so let's see that. Okay, bind variables. Bind variables, they are the placeholder that lets you specify the actual values at runtime. And let's see that. So I am going to make a class name as parameter, import java.sql, and I am going to make a method public static void register, and I'm going to pass connection object. This method throws SQL exception, and I am going to make a string object, and it would be insert into names values 6, 1, edit. Okay, and okay. And I'm going to pass SQL into prepare statement. I get the prepare statement object and call execute update because this is insert. All right, so I could do like this, or there is a way supply all the column values through parameter. and put the question mark here, which serve as a placeholder. Okay. So the thing is, in this method, we are not hard coding values, we are passing through a parameter, which is very handful for doing the programming. Prepared statements have a lot of set methods to set bind variables. If the database value is boolean, you can use set boolean. For double, you use set double. For integer, int. There is no integers, int. For big int, set long. Any type, all of this type, you can use set object. And for char and varchar, set string. The first parameter is column index. It always start with 1, not with 0. So make sure this one. For the set object, you cannot get a compile time error if you pass a wrong parameter, but you will get a runtime error. So it is better to use more specific setter method. Okay, so let's see that. Before execute update, we need to set these bind variables. So we know the first one is integer. I can do set int and 1 key. The second is also int. I say dot set int, and I say to and type. And the third one is string. So I say ps dot set string. You can change the order of setting bind variable. It is perfectly fine. Okay. So that's what you can set parameters out of order. Next, alternatively, you could use object instead of all of this. ps dot set object 1 comma key, ps dot set object 2 comma type, ps dot set object 3 comma name. Okay, so but if I put a wrong type, change here a wrong type, it will not give me a compiler error. But if I do over here, if I put here type, it will give me a compiler error with a 3. If I do over here type, it won't gonna give me compiler error. So it's way better if you use this one rather than this. Okay, that's what I was trying to say. Bind variables, you can set the different parameters and skip similar in updating multiple times. I would like to make a new class, update multiples, and then public static void main. I am going to use this one connection. Let's try to use in the resource block. SQL, try to create a string SQL, insert into names, values, and put the placeholders, question mark and question mark. So before execute update, I would like to set the bind variables. So in prepared statement, I'm gonna say set, the first one is int in names 1,20, second one is also int, and the third one is string. Okay, Easter. So you have done this one, and after that I say ps dot set int 1,21 and ps dot set string 3, alias. So what will happen? Java is smart enough. It will pick the second bind variable by the previous one, and it will be 21, 1 and alias. Okay, there wouldn't be null. Remember that. There is one question in the exam pretty much same like this one. So I am going to run this program and see what the values have been added. Okay, no error, and the table name is names. So see that 1 and 1, there is no null, no 0. Remember this one. Now I'm going to stop this one. We can run only one instance at a time. So if we run this one, we cannot do run the program. So either or. Okay, that's what I have stopped. And now let's come back to our parameters. Bind variables, we cannot set more values than you have as a bind variable. All right, so you go to the parameter. I am going to make one static void register more method, and in register more, what I have done is exactly same like as above. There's no difference. Now I am going to take one bind variable out and setting more. So what it would be? So let's run this program. So I am going to call register and pass the connection. So what it's going to do, it insert this row, and then if I call register by key, I put 7 and type is 1, and Mishu, this is the name of my cat, she ran away. So, and then register more connection key, I put 8, type 1, and this is Nika, a name of my current cat. So just run this program and see that what is the result. Okay, so you have seen it says 1 and 1, so it has inserted 6.1 edit 7.1 Mishu, but for the registered more it has given index error exception. The number of value assigned is not the same as number of specified or implied columns, and error has come from 43. So this is a stack from here when we ran the query. Okay, and then after that it goes to the main. Main is always on the bottom, and other methods are on the top of the main. Okay, as I have explained earlier in the previous videos, the stack. So I am going to see names table once again, double click. So these 2 rows are added. I'm going to stop, close, and come at this section. Okay, but would if I register less bind variables, if I do, means if I'm missing the set of parameter number 3, so what it would be. So like copy this one, paste here, change to register less. Okay, and here we have 3 bind variables, and I am missing this one. Okay, so will it allow me to do that? Or does it put some kind of a default value if I'm missing someone? So let's see. So I say register less con nine 1 and Bruno. This is a dog, live next door. Okay, so I do not want to uncomment these one, otherwise it's going to insert 2 and it gives the error over here and stop the program. So I would like to see the error over here. So these 3 methods I am not going to call. I'm only going to call register less. Let's see. Okay, oh, it has given an exception. At least one parameter to current statement is initialized. To make sure that you hone your skills before going to the exam, and if there is a question about a bind variable, always check that the number of question mark match to the number of set methods. Okay, so we cannot set more values than the bind variables, and we also cannot set less values than the bind variables. Bind variables must be equal to the set values function. Okay, the next one cannot work if you do not set them in between prepared and result set. I will cover this one in the result set. Okay, so result set. What is the result set? Reads result of a query. Okay, result set has a cursor which points to the current location in the data. Result set, when we call next method, it brings the cursor down and check is there any row on the cursor level. If it is, it returns true, and if it is not, it returns false. So this method is very important for iteration. Now I would like to go to execute query class, and in the while loop I'm going to use rs.next, and it will iterate over each record. Okay, result set interface have get methods to extract out the data. If we have a boolean value, it can get from get boolean. You can either specify column index, which always start from a 1, or column label name like id, name, num, acres. We have this one for boolean, double, integer, long, object, and string. Sout rs.get int, the first one, plus rs.get int, the second one, and plus rs.get string, the third one. Okay, I'm going to run this program and see what is the result. So it is printed out all the data in the names table. Okay, what is happening behind the scene? It is getting the integer, and integer is converting into the string. Same as over here, getting the integer, converting into the string. Result set object is smart enough. You can use get string as well, and it will get the value in string, and conversion happen in the result set class rather than your Java file. So it will give the same result. Okay, all right. Okay, let's make one class. In the result set package, name as reading. Okay, And in this class SQL select ID name from exhibits. You can do static as well. And then I am going to create a map with the key is integer and the value is string, and say ID to name map equals to new hash map, and then in try resource I am going to get a prepared statement object by connection object. In Derby database it is embed connection. Okay, here make sure pass SQL, and then I am going to make a result set, and so this is select, so I'm going to use execute query. Okay, I need to iterate over all result set, so you're going to use next method. In next method I have ID, so I am going to say rs dot get int, and here I'm going to say the label name, column label is ID, you can use one as well, and the string name equals to rs dot get string, and you say name. Okay, so 1 and 2 you can also use, so not 1 is here and 2 is here. If you change name and ID, so then 1 would be the name and 2 would be the ID. So this 1 and 2 depends upon whatsoever is in the query, not the table. Okay, all right, so now I'm going to put these key and value in the hash table. So I say ID and name, then I am going to print so ID, and let's run this program and see that what would be the result. Okay, so we're saying African element and 2 is zebra. Okay, next, as I said that we can alternatively do these ones like 1 and 2. Okay, and if I run this one again with 1 and 2, it will provide the same result. Right? Okay, so right, next sometimes you want to get only one row from the table. Maybe you need only one piece of a data. So for instance, the result from SQL function. So we have seen there is a SQL function count which counts the number of the rows in the table, And if for the one, if there is only one, instead of the while you can also use if rs dot next. So, and we can say that int count, what is the count number, so we can say that rs dot get int number 1. So how many rows it has? 2, it will give the 2, and then count. Okay, so that's what you can do for one row. Okay, so yeah, you can see that it's giving the result in a one row. So alternatively, you can also write this one select count star as count. So now you can use here count. So whatsoever the result is assigned to a variable count, and we get, and we put it over here var, and let's see that what is the, yeah, you see the same result. All right, okay. Something also I would like to mention in the result set, that which exam can trick you. So I'm gonna make a one class bad code. I'm going to take the connection, next I have taken this SQL and try resource. Let's put it over here, and then instead of count, if I say total, make sure guys do not skip this trick in the exam. So it will give an exception, column not found, and this is SQL exception. Okay, and where it has come, line number 14. Okay, well, now we're gonna make some different SQL. Say select static from exhibits where name equals to not in table. So there is no such name like that. Okay, what's gonna happen? if you going to call with column index 1, something not in the table. So I commit this one and run the program and see what is the result. So it's giving an SQL exception. Invalid cursor state, no current row. So there is nothing comes from this query, and that's why it's giving no current row. There is no row, so we have called this one without if or without while, so it has given an error over here by calling this. Okay, we go to the run and see that where the error is. Okay. Invalid cursor state, no current row. So now let's put it over here. Copy this one, I put it here. Okay, now from let's do exhibit, and then if I say 0, so which is not a column, it always start from 1, so it will give an error. Okay, error comes on 30, column 0 not found. Next, if I say select name from exhibits, and in the name instead of calling 1 or the name, I put bad column, pretty much same like as this one, total, but this is for the function and this is for the column. What it does, let's see. It says that column bad not found. Okay, and it has come on 39. All right. let's do one bind variable example with a result set. I'm gonna make a class bind variables, and I'm gonna take and one string select ID from exhibits where name equals to question mark. Okay, and in try resource I am creating prepared statement, and we need to pass SQL. Okay, so if I say ps dot set string, so the number one bind variable, this is, remember that is not a get has a column, set has a parameter index for bind variable. Zebra, so we have a value zebra, okay, in the table, and then we again use nested try resource, and this is result set ps dot execute query, and then we go on each record by next, and then I am going to get just the ID, because I'm getting only the ID. Alright, and print out ID. Okay, very simple. So let's run this one, and the value is 2. Okay, click exhibits, and you can see ID is 2 for zebra. Okay, so what I would like to mention over here, so bind variables cannot work if you do not set them in between prepared statement and result set. So you can see that this is a bind variable setting. We have set in between prepared statement, this is prepared statement, and result set. Set in between prepared statement and result set. So if you see in the exam, this setting is somewhere else, not in between, so that will give you SQL exception. Next is closing database resources. Throughout the chapter we have been using try with resources syntax. The resources need to be opened and closed in a specific order. So how are we doing? We open the connection in try and resource block, then prepared statement, followed by result set. And if we run another SQL statement from same prepared statement, then it closes the previous result set, and then if we complete our task, the resources close in reverse fashion: result set, prepared statement, and then connection. Okay, so let's see. I have created one class try catch resources in closing package. Let's write some import statement. I have written one string, names URL, and then another string object which has a query name SQL. Try catch resource, use the throw SQL exception with the main method, and create one connection object followed by one prepared statement object. So I have opened both. I'm going to mention here open connection, open prepared statement, and then I am going to set a bind variable. So the query is select count static from names, where id bind variable. So here it would be 1. I have created one object of result set, and then I would like to see the data, so use the while loop, and inside the while loop I have used the method rs1.next, which returns the true if there is a record. So I have opened the result set, third resource, and here I have printed out count and the result of SQL function, which would be 1. Next, now I would like to change the bind variable value from 1 to 2, and when id would be 2, how many records have this id, and here I have used the same prepared statement for creating result set object, and same like as above, I have used rs2.next in the while loop. What I have done, I have closed the rs1 because I have used the same prepared statement to create the result set, and it has opened rs2. I'm also mentioning the number, what is happening in sequence. Same as above, print out how many number of records have id 2, and here I have closed rs2. All right, and then at the end of the try block, the resources will go close in the reverse fashion. First it closed the prepared statement followed by connection. So remember that resources are open top to bottom and close bottom to top, and if we use the same prepared statement to create another result set, it closes the previous one before open the new one. Let's run this program and see the result should be 1 and 1. Yes, 1 and 1. Okay, because we have only one row with ID 1 and one row with ID 2. Closing a connection. So when we close the connection, it closes the prepared set statement and result set. Closing prepared statement, also closing result set. If we close the prepared statement, it closes the result set. So what it means, if I do not mention this one, then when program is going to finish, prepared statement is going to close at the end of the block, and it first closes the result set followed by the prepared statement. And this one point I already have emphasized, JDBC automatically close a result set when you run another SQL statement from the same statement, means from the same prepared statement. Okay, let's see one more example. I have created one more class, resource leak, and I am going to create a method which throws SQL exception, and then I'm going to call this method in the main method. Okay, so in this method we will learn the best practice and also the catch SQL exception options. Declare one variable URL. Another string variable has a query. Select not a column from names. Then declare an object of connection. Declare an object of prepared statement. Declare an object of result set. Create try with resource block. Place connection object, prepared statement object, and result set object. So we have seen previously in the exception section that if the variables are final or effective final, we can use them in try with resource block. Now I am going to make a loop, and the condition of a loop would be result set dot next. In this one I am going to display the result at the column number 1, and as we know that not a column is not present inside the names, so it will throw an exception. So suppose that exception is thrown on line number 19, ps.execute query. The try with resource block is never reached, so we do not get the benefit from automatic resource closing. That means that this code has a resource leak. So please do not write the code like this. All right. So there is an option, but it's always good to declare all your resources, especially those can throw SQL exception or any other exception inside the resource block. There is a method getMessage in SQL exception that returns a human readable message as to what went wrong, and there is another method getSQLState which returns a code as to what went wrong, and getErrorCode is a database specific code, and you can Google what the code means. Let's run this program and see how would be the output. So definitely it give an error, so says that column not a column is either not in any table in the form of list or appear within a joint specification. So it has given full this message, and we have SQL state. So you can Google the name of your database in SQL state to get more information about the error. Get error code is a database specific code. Okay, I hope you like my video. Please stay tuned, provide your feedback, and I wish you best of luck for your OCP exam. Thank you.